Well, it is great to be back, and we are racing towards the midway point of the year, and a lot of things are becoming self-evident in this real estate market that we're in. The impending doom and the crash cycle of property values. It hasn't happened, and we forecasted that it probably wouldn't happen. Matter of fact, we were adamant that it was not going to happen, and here we are, at the midpoint of 2023, and what we continue to see are all the markings of a situation where it would see a drop in prices because we still have high interest rates and still have this inflation piece that's putting pressure on people and families and budgets. And inventory level has not increased dramatically, not to the areas that you would want to see it for there to be some change in price. And the number of properties is down as far as what is being sold year over year. Everything, and I mean everything, would line up to say, hey, there's going to be a little softening in price, and yet, it's just not the case. Year over year, prices continue to be up anywhere from 1, 2, maybe even 3%, depending on the market. But what we're experiencing is that despite what some would say is against all odds or beliefs, prices continue to move forward. We had looked at that last couple months back at a Fed meeting and said, there's probably a 45-day window leading into April and May where there was going to be an opportunity in the market. Because chances are the interest rates were going to be as low as they're going to be for the foreseeable future. And the prediction was there's going to be the Fed raising rates 2-3 times in a row. And it's happened 2 times in a row since then. So rates are higher. And prices have increased each month since then. So home values, home prices are also higher. So the forecast was there. And it simply said over the next 45 days that there was going to be this opportunity. If you're going to buy, this would be the lowest rate and lowest price you would see, for quite some time. And that has absolutely played out. And it continues to evolve. And as we go into the second half of the year, and it's likely to continue. If we get the crystal ball out right now, if there was going to be an inflection point, I'm going to guess sometime around November at the 1-year mark, leading up to, presidential elections. I would believe there'll be some of that. I think there's also something to be said for as much as the Fed continues to put pressure on families and budgets and not really combating inflation the way that they'd hoped. My suspicion is sometime around November, maybe October. It's going to either ease or they're going to pivot strategies. It's not likely to see interest rate increases every Fed meeting through the end of the year, but 1 or 2 more, yeah, I hypothetically could see that with some easing that would give some hope that inflation would be coming down and that things would be settling in. And whether it's an economic strategy or just a political strategy or some of each, it certainly appears that that's what is going on right now. And we'll be watching that. Now, another interesting piece is the real estate industry and surrounding industries are under great pressure right now. The number of agents is decreasing, and that was expected. The ease of selling a property over the last few years has turned to really hard work for most in the industry. And what's interesting is the training that someone received in the industry over the last few years, if they just entered the industry, was really that of an order taker. And if you think about when was there a real estate market where people were willing to pay the full price and beyond, and many people were willing to do that and have really short or like no inspections, extend closing dates to please the seller. If the appraisals came low, they just paid the difference. And in many cases, the buyer allowed the owner to stay in the property after the closing for a week or a month or ongoing, sometimes with no rent, to allow them time to move out and find the next place for them to live. And giving up all those liberties and opportunities of negotiation, well, it's not something that is taught. It's not something that felt normal ever. And, that was the anomaly. It's unlikely that you would see that. I mean, because, when you say it out loud, it really doesn't make that much sense. You would think a negotiation would involve some, prices being discussed that were below the asking price, not above. So for those that entered the market in the last, say, 3 years in real estate or any of the related industries, that's what they came in at. That's what they understand. Many have never seen a price change for them or an expired listing. And when you've trained on that, it's a different skill set than what is, required not just today, but was almost always required. So for those that are in the industry that are waiting for the market to get back to a normal market, the sad truth is for them, this is the normal market. It is a sales industry. It's a long-term relationship industry. And most people spend 6, 9, 12 months in the process of moving, which might include buying and selling a home. This is the normal market. And what was going on the last few years was the anomaly. I don't know. I don't see a path to get back to it. There was a lot of things that happened at the same time, including COVID. Remember that thing? And super low interest rates and all these incentives and people's desire to move. They all converged upon themselves for something that is not likely. I mean, nothing's ever really happened like that before, and it's unlikely that it's going to happen again. So for those in the industry, this is the normal market. And the byproduct of that is a lot of people are leaving the industry, leaving the commission sales, the 100% commission sales piece, and going to other types of work, maybe stable incomes, W-2 jobs, weekly paychecks, things like that with a salary, to be able to have a predictable income. The years change. So there'll be changes in the market, but I don't believe that any of those changes of who provides the services is going to have any effect on the value of homes or the rates at which they sell or the interest rates at which are charged. I don't see any correlation between those two things, but we have the projection of where the market is going, and we have the projection of who is actually going to be working in the industry. The third piece within this is the compensation piece, and this is where it's getting a little tricky to scale these real estate businesses. And it used to be that everybody was just an individual agent, and then there was a few teams, and there was more teams. And now these real estate organizations and teams, if you think about how they operate, maybe like a sports team where there's a lot of people involved in the process and everybody has a specific role. It might look like a restaurant, where you might have a server, servers and a greeter, maybe a bartender, there's alcohol, and a lot of people in the kitchen and general managers and people ordering and cleaning people and owners. So again, the real estate industry is evolving to look a lot more like sports teams, like restaurants and other businesses where there's specialization, and the single agent will always be there. But with rising costs of marketing, increased competition from the different ways that you would obtain new business, whether it's through lead generation strategies where you pay for play, or you're reaching out through community events, or just social media, where it's super crowded right now. The single agent may be a dying breed. Not because they're not good at it, because the number of tasks required to do it is ever increasing. It's ever exhausting those that are working individually. Absolutely a place, 100% for it. But if you know anybody or spoken to anybody, the word exhaustion comes in. Never can turn it off 24/7 because you really can't. In much the same way that technology advances are increasing at such an alarming rate, the type where you buy a phone and it's obsolete in a week or two because the next one's coming out. It's very similar to that. So there's something going on with the makeup of the people in the real estate service area, where it's my belief that you're going to see a lot more teams evolving and growing, and that will more likely be the most common way to purchase home, is using a team of agents or an organization that works as a team to help you as opposed to an individual. And the scales seem to tip more and more in that direction every year. It's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's what's evolving, and that's what to understand. So with all these changes, there comes additional opportunities. And commission is not something in the real estate industry that gets talked about a lot because there's price fixing situations where you can't just have a standard commission. and you can have an agreement that we're only going to sell for this price, no more than would be like, I guess like gas station price fixing. That was a big thing years and years ago. But there are many technology pieces in the industry that are eroding the amount of money that used to go to a single agent or even a real estate team. And there's technology advances that are inserting themselves in the transaction. And there's also, many places, a proliferation of places where they'll just buy your home for cash, whether it's a hedge fund or a company or an individual. And those things are always there, but those are also evolving. So the compensation models have also been altered, probably never to go back to what it is. So none of this is bad. Things evolve, whether it's technology or life or people or things, they continue to evolve. And I want to spend some time on that today just to bring it to the forefront of not only what the changes are in the industry as far as the personnel and the people and how they're compensated, but also to reflect upon that because prices continue to go up. Commissions are being compressed through competition. Competition is good. And there's more hands in the cookie jar sharing that compensation. So when you're selecting the people or teams that are going to assist you in the moving process and buying and selling properties, the makeup of their compensation is going to be a little bit different. And it does affect you because the level of service that you're going to achieve and the expectations that you might have for levels of service and marketing on the outside are going to seem the same. Internally, as you dig a little bit deeper, you'll probably find that more people are involved in a real estate transaction the next time you do it than the previous time that you might have done it. So giving some understanding and shining some light on to what the service piece looks like and the underpinnings of why I thought would be helpful for all of you. So the next time you're out there ready to buy or sell a property, if it feels a little different, hopefully this podcast helps you understand what has changed and how it's going to affect you. Look forward to catching up with you guys on the next episode. This is Ron Wysokarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.